Hi guys, welcome to my video and my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about a few different things, like the new cracked walls, a new art direction I'm kind of testing out. We're going to talk about the hit stop I have added. We are also going to talk about metal crystals and the new rock Geyser ability, or rock Geyser. I have no idea how you pronounce it, and it also doesn't matter. But let's just get into it. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee and some popcorn, and let's begin. So right now you all know about my art direction, how I make the dungeons and rooms out of these cubes. Everything is made of cubes in these environments. And the reason for that is, first of all, to keep things clean and not too noisy and messy, so you don't have, I mean, many dungeon games have these brick walls everywhere, and it kind of gets a little noisy to look at. So these cubes makes everything super clean, and it's super easy to work with. It's easy to make a cube, right? You just boot up Blender and that's already a cube. And it's just very easy for me to build rooms when I only just have cubes I have to place and move around. So it's clean and it's easy, so I mean, it's obviously a win-win situation, right? All the cubes that creates these rooms are using one of two materials. I have made a light material and a darker material. And on begin play, when a cube spawns, it just selects randomly one of these materials. So we get a little variation in the patterns. And again, of course, if you ask me, that is super cool. I love it. I think it's fantastic. But I also wanted to try and see if I could do a little more with these cubes to add a little more detail into these environments without noising everything up. And again, to keep things very simple, I just took the cube I already have, made a clone of it, and kind of broke it up into pieces. You can easily do that in Blender. And then I kind of just beveled the edges of the new cracks a little, so we get these thicker cracks in between all these pieces. And after that, I created 3 materials and put those 3 materials on random pieces on this new cube. And I will show you later on why that is absolutely brilliant. So I have made this one cube blueprint, which will do different things when the game starts. So the first thing this cube blueprint will do is to select between 2 different meshes, right? We have the clean cube that I've always used, that is one mesh. Then I have the cracked up cube, which I just made. So there's a 50-50% chance that any of these will spawn. When the correct mesh has been selected, I will rotate it randomly 90 degrees on these 3 axes, X, Y, and Z, right? It will just get a random 90 or 180 degree rotation on each of these. So the cube will be rotated randomly every time it spawns, right? So I don't get the same crack every time. And the cracked cube will get one of these 2 random materials that the original cube also gets. So, and then it looks a little something like this, a combination of clean cubes and cracked cubes in 2 different colors. But to make this even more awesome, again, remember I gave all these cracked pieces 3 different materials, right? I've implemented that into the blueprint. So I'm still, when a cracked cube is selected, it still gets 2 random materials, but instead of the whole cube getting 1 material, each individual piece has a chance to spawn with either one of these 2 materials. So I get random colored cracks, but you know what I mean, right? The dungeon will now spawn with clean cubes and cracked cubes. And sometimes these cracked cubes will also have 1 material to match the clean cube, but also they will spawn with these 2 different materials on the different cracks, which also breaks up the environment and background a lot more. I think it looks awesome. Another thing we need to talk about very shortly, which makes me a little sad, to be honest, but I have turned off all the shadows in the dungeon. It was just giving me some performance problems and I don't know why. I have a simple side-scrolling game with maybe 4 or 5 lights at the same time casting shadows, and I'm having performance problems, right? I mean, even outside of the camera, all the lights are getting turned off. So it's only active lights inside the camera, and it's giving me performance problems. Why is this? I mean, it's 2023. Why do I have performance problems with a few shadow casting lights? It makes no sense to me. I almost have no geometry in this game. What is happening here? No idea. So I just turned it off to get some smooth performance, and it kind of makes me sad. I want those shadows back, but I just can't right now. Anyways, I have also created hit stop for my game. For those who don't know what hit stop is when you hit something in a game and everything pauses for just a split second on every hit, and then, you know, it goes real time again. I mean, most games have implemented this in some way or form. Games like Street Fighter has a very clear hit stop. And I've been looking a lot at Genshin Impact, which also have quite extreme hit stops at times. And I think it can do something, and so I try and make it and put it into my game to see if I liked it or not. I have this mentality about impact effects and things like that. When you hit an enemy in a game, it should just feel badass without any of these cheap tricks like camera shake and hit stop. I see these two things as a cheap way of exaggerating the hit impact, right? And it's fine, but again, the way I think about it is that I need to make impact feel impactful, and it should work without these cheap things, right? And even all the way back to basic, if I make an animation where an enemy gets hit by the hero or whatever, an explosion, whatever, it should feel, you should be able to feel the impact even if there's no sound on at all. You should be able to hear the sound in your head just by looking at the animation. And if you can kind of hear the sound in your head without, only by looking at the animation, then the animation is really good. And then we can put on sound effects and particle effects on top of that to exaggerate the impact. And then at the very end, we will talk about things like hit stop and camera shakes, right? Personally, I think camera shakes are completely overdone in gaming today, especially in indie games, right? For some indie games, it's kind of the only way that they can make the impact feel impactful, right? If they don't have a skilled animator, or if they're using animation files from Mixamo or somewhere else, they kind of lack this impact you get with a really good animation. So they're adding hit stop and camera shakes and things like that on top of the impact effects, right? To kind of compensate for the lack of animation. You know what I'm talking about here? Does that make sense? I mean, that's kind of the mentality I have. These should be last resort enhancements to an impact. But as I think my animations and my impacts are already pretty good, it was time for me to try and see if things like hit stop could add to the combat. And I need to play around with this some more to see if I really like it. Right now I have toned it way down, so you kind of feel it's there, but it's not right up in your face. Alright, I have added these metal crystals, in the lack of a better word for these. I have this whole system where you are kind of freeing townspeople, and then you're gathering resources for their shops, which makes them able to create gear and other stuff for you later on. Alright, so the first example is the blacksmith. You free the blacksmith in the dungeon, and then after that you will collect these metal bars. Then you give the metal bars to the blacksmith, and he will give you some free armor to start your run with. These metal bar comes in different rarities, which makes the blacksmith able to create different rarity armors for you. I've already talked about it. Let's not dig into this again. But before, these metal bars were spawning from chests and from elite enemies, which sometimes could be a little anticlimactic to open a chest and there's just a metal bar. You know, opening a chest and just getting some kind of resource is it's really boring if you ask me. So I have taken these metal bars out of the elite enemies and the chest and put them into these metal crystals that will spawn around the dungeon in different rarities. Right, so if you find a blue metal crystal, that means that's a rare metal crystal, and it will drop a rare metal bar. Right, makes total sense. And the way I've made this now is that these metal crystals will spawn in the dungeon just like the chest will spawn in the dungeon. There's 2 chests in every dungeon, and there's one metal crystal in every dungeon. So you're guaranteed to get a metal bar in each dungeon, which also means that you are sure to progress the metal bar blacksmith progression. You are not just relying on the randomization to drop you these metal bars. Right now you are sure to get one in each dungeon, and that is awesome. Then I have played around with creating a new ability for the Earth Glove. I mean, the Earth Glove is not even implemented into the game yet, but you know, if I get a good idea and I need to do something fun for the game, abilities are usually the thing I will work on when I need to do something fun. And with all these problems I'm constantly running into creating this game, I just need to do something fun now and then. So I have created this rock geyser, right, a rock fountain. So it will just spawn a big rock that goes up from the ground, and it will kind of, you know, have this inverted gravity thing and keeps pulling small rocks towards it. I don't want to try and explain how it works. It was just an idea I got that I thought would look super awesome, and after creating it I can confirm that it looks super awesome. And it's just a damage over time thing that just stays where it spawns, and everything that runs into it will lose health. I mean, it's as simple as that, and then it will die after 2 or 3 seconds. And since this is not implemented yet, I can just spawn it by pressing on a keyboard shortcut, and it will just spawn, and it has no cooldown or anything, and it just have a base damage, so I can test it out. And this is kind of what it looks like in action, and I think it's absolutely fantastic.
What?
As you might have noticed, in the bottom left corner of the screen I've added these 4 new icons with these bone abilities on, and you should actually just ignore that for now. It's me trying to make a new ability system, an icon UI system where you will be able to select which ability should be placed on which button, right? So you can decide which button will fire off which ability, so it's completely up to you which abilities you will take with you in combat. I have talked about this many times before. Like for the bone glove, I want maybe 8 abilities, but you can only take 4 with you. And you should be able to go in to a menu and select which 4 abilities do you want to take with you, and on which buttons do these abilities, getting put on. So that is something I have tried to do, and I will not go into detail on this because it's again one of these systems where I feel like I'm painting myself into a corner and have no idea how to kind of continue from there on. I'm stuck right now, and because I need to rework the way I'm using abilities for this game. I need a new system. So each ability, I can just set that with an integer or something like that, and it will forget about it, guys. But that is what these icons on the bottom left is for. It's a work in progress, new ability system. All right, let's move on. And so the very last thing I want to talk about today is the hero character Gorm version 3.0, which I have created in Blender. I have not implemented this character yet. It's just an update of the original character, but I need to move everything from 3ds Max over to Blender. And before I can do that, I have to recreate all the animations for the hero character. I need to recreate that in Blender, and then I can import that on top of the stuff I already have in Unreal. So I'm kind of overriding the old character with a new character. And then I'm sure everything will break because different blueprints are getting the different bones from the character, and I've renamed the bones, and it will probably be a complete nightmare to make this switch with the new hero Blender character. I'm pretty sure I can't see why this won't be a nightmare because, game development, right? So I'm constantly slowly improving on this Blender character and adding stuff to it, kind of making it ready for the switch. And also I'm getting into Blender, so I need stuff to do in Blender. And right now I'm trying to make a new armor set for this new hero character. I've been using Midjourney to find some awesome references of different armor sets, and I'm kind of creating my own from these references. And I mean these Midjourney images looks freaking fantastic, right? And then I'm making these armors into these low poly armors, which just looks a little less epic, to be honest, right? But that's also part of me learning how to model stuff and which details I need to transfer from the reference to the model, and things like that. I need to get into this whole modeling so I can create some awesome looking armors in the future, right? So it's something I'm doing kind of on the side, outside of Unreal. So that's it, guys. That's all we need to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and again, if you made it this far into the video, I think you are fantastic, and I appreciate you being here watching these videos, which usually is nothing but problems, but this one was a little more exciting. But guys, thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.